Welcome, everyone, to episode 436 of Just Joshing. I'm your host, Joshua Pantalaresco. I write stuff in podcast too, and I also narrate. And today I have a very special guest. Sholley Powell joins the podcast. Sholley, I really enjoyed this chat. This was an important chat, I think, not just for her, but for, I think, a lot of writers are just getting started. No matter where you are in this journey of writing, sometimes in the morning, the hardest thing to convince yourself is that you're getting up and you're doing your thing as a writer. And that's a hard deal. That's a really, really, really hard deal. I know in my particular case, sometimes I have to convince myself. And not because I suck or anything like that, but because, you're going out into the unknown and you don't know whether or not what you're doing is actually making a difference. I actually wrote about this in my newsletter on the weekend because the hardest thing we can do is attack in the face of the unknown. And most of our lives, whether we realize it or not, it's how we confront the unknown. This is a new world with a new way of doing things right now. And we all are kind of trying to figure our way in the dark. And we snap at each other. We're finding each other. We're grieving what we've lost. But we're also finding ourselves right now, which is a really interesting thing. And Sholley, I've known her a few times. I saw her at a few poetry classes with Miranda Crockstead. Hi, Miranda. I had the opportunity to talk to her about some stuff in, just with Jim Jackson's gatherings earlier in the summer. But I had also made the decision I kind of wanted to interview her then. And the funny part about this episode is she still doesn't fully believe she's a writer, and Sholley's a great one, whether she believes it or not. But don't take my word for it. Let's just have this conversation and have you decide for yourself.
This episode of Just Joshing is sponsored by Indie Imprint. Indie Imprint supports creators by creators. Whether you are writing a book or creating a video game, Indie Imprint works with its clients to produce, edit, and present their projects to the world. For more information, check out their website at www.indieimprint.com.
Are you ready?
I suppose so.
Okay, so have you ever listened to my podcast before?
Yes.
So do you know what the first question I always ask somebody on the podcast is? Because I'm about to ask you that question. So here's the question, Sholley. If you have anything incriminating you'd like to say, make it good. The look on your face is awesome. You there?
Oh my.
Yeah, see, you go for the big stuff. You go for the big stuff because, why settle with the small talk crap? I want to get to know you as much as I can in the next hour, so let's just get to the good stuff. Nothing? Nada?
Is there anything? I don't have anything.
You don't have anything?
No, I don't.
You don't? Okay, I'm going to accuse you from suffering from a very terrible case of imposter syndrome, and my goal by the end of this conversation is I'm going to break you from that. I might make you cry. I'm going to warn you that up front. I might make you cry because I'm going to say something very nice to you at the end of this podcast, but that's okay.
Oh, no.
Yeah, I know. Actually, we'll start there. So, during this time, because everybody has gone insane, I've decided to go the opposite way because I'm a contrarian by nature, and that's just how I am. I said, well, everybody just wants to fight each other, wants to be miserable. I've been relatively positive. I've been sending people very nice notes. So you've got one of those.
I know.
Yeah.
What? I got like 5.
I know. Well, so the first one was completely random number generator. Right, and then the second one was like you going like I'm not a writer, but we're going to come back to that one at some point because that's not true. But right, we're going to come back to that. She actually cringed a little bit on that one, ladies and gentlemen. It's like, oh no, he's going to fill me up. I can't. So can I ask? Okay, this is my first actual question. I mean, this is a legitimate question. What is the expectations of a writer that you don't think you fulfill? I'm just curious on this one.
Well, I would
Yeah.
The experience, the work, gosh, I could go on. Say education, but I would say education.
So, do you write every day, or on a regular basis at least?
I write. My style of writing is the writing kind of chooses me.
Yeah. Okay.
Like when something down, that's when I write. But that I have question. I can't just sit down and say that real poets write.
So, we'll talk about my weird office in a little bit, but it sounds to me like it's somewhat of a regular thing, because if you wouldn't have that voice in your head that tells you to write if you haven't fed that urge. See, I'm of the belief that anything we do have two reasons. We feed our habits, good and bad, and that's always a good thing. So this is at least a habit for you. So you are in the habit of writing. Is that a fair assessment to say?
That is a fair assessment. I've been writing since I was a kid. Now, everybody else says, would I call it poetry or would I call it writing? I don't know that I would do that.
See, okay, so you write on a regular basis. You don't necessarily have a form that you're comfortable defining yourself as. Okay, but that's okay. But you do write. You do say stuff. You sent me something last night that was really, really, really serious there. So, I mean, you write powerful stuff. I mean, I'm just basing it on my experience, what I've received from you. So, okay. So, have you been... So, I'm trying to think about this. Have you been published?
Sort of.
Sort of? Okay, but sort of.
I had entered a contest.
What?
I had entered a contest, and part of it was like the publication, but it was just that poem was featured on the ice buses to Calgary.
That's awesome.
So that
That's awesome. No, don't give me that. Don't give me those quotation marks. Right? Your work was on display for people to see, correct?
That's correct.
So ergo, you were published. Now, granted, you may not have been in a magazine, but you were on display that anybody could walk by and look at your work. And it was shared to the world. So technically speaking, if we're going to go by that definition, you have been published. Okay, you've been published. So yeah, I don't get it. I don't get it. You know? So, I said this to you off the air, and not know, but Isaac Asimov said this best. A writer is a writer. It doesn't matter what phase of your career you're at. If you choose to make this a career, do you feel it's like more of a passion for you, or is it more like something you want to actually take more seriously? By the way, either answer's fair.
Sorry?
Either answer's fair, right?
It's not necessarily, I don't even know what category that would fall into. Like I said, to remember, and remember, but it's just sort of, it's always been, like, out loud, regular conversation, I guess, that I would just conversations with myself, because whatever was in my head just needed to get out, so it would get out on the page. It was almost like therapy for my insomnia as well.
Dude, are you still an insomniac?
Yes.
Yes.
As we corresponded at 2
in the morning your time, 4 in the morning mine.
Yes.
I've had a weird schedule the last few weeks because I just did my first ever audiobook for a client,
And there were just a couple of days that I just said, fuck it, let's just get it done. Right? Let's just do it. Let's just get it done. A lot of the engineering stuff basically was what I was doing. Like all the recording was done weeks ago, but it was a learning curve for me, right? I had to learn what to do, what not to do. I made a lot of mistakes on the first book, but I'm still proud of it because I put a lot of work into it too. So I just debuted it on my podcast. Like I sent that to you, and it was just like, made me nervous as hell because that was a lot more professionally done than I normally do my podcast at. So it's just like my podcast, I tend to wing it. It's kind of a little bit more rougher and raw because it's just this quaint little show. This was actually an attempt to be as seriously professional as I could, right? So it was a learning experience. So I've had no regular sleep for like 2 weeks. So I've had sleep.
Yeah, one of those mornings that we were corresponding, and you were saying that you were editing for hours and hours, and I think it was into the next day, and I was like, is that really what you did for your birthday?
Yeah. I didn't celebrate my birthday till like the Wednesday because I had to get like, I'm a real stickler. I'm a real stickler for keeping my promises, right? And I had to get that done because I promised him it would be done, and I keep my word. Now afterwards, cool, but well, the day after, I'm not gonna lie, I spent the day after doing that sleeping. Like I slept the whole day because it was like I needed it because I did like an 18, 19 hour day that day. But just editing, like it was a learning experience. Like I said, I made a lot of mistakes. I will never have to edit quite like that ever again. I've learned a lot about the process. But when you're into something, you're into something, and also when you want to deliver something to someone that you like and respect, and is actually trusting you enough to do a job. I mean, yeah, man, I'm going to do everything I know how to do. That's just how I'm wired. It's like, you know what? It's good or it's bad. Maybe it's not. Like I know the next book is going to be better than this one is because I won't be making anywhere near the mistakes I made on this one. But at the same time, I'm proud I did it. I learned a ton. I let myself, and that's what I've been doing for the whole year. I've been doing things out of my comfort zone the whole year. My life is by design right now uncomfortable. So, and it's probably going to be that way for at least another 6 months. After that, we'll see. Maybe I'll trade in for a little comfort for the short term. But I mean, it's just like one of those. Like it's now, it's never, right? You don't. If you don't go for like. And that's why I'm asking if it's like a hobby or if it's something you're serious about, because if you are serious about it, you need to go for it. If you aren't serious about it, it's just a hobby, and it's just something you feel the need to express when the mood strikes you. There's nothing wrong with that either, right? It's just that you're not a writer thing is, you know, I look at that and I just go, nice.
It's played out.
Yeah.
Get over it.
Yes. Well, that's why I asked. Like that's why I asked from the expectation point of view. It doesn't. I said this. Like we all have a voice for it. That we all have a voice and we all have a story to tell, and it's important because all of like again, there's never going to be another Sholley Powell. There's never going to be another one. There's just you're it. So your experience, your life, your whole journey is you. And you telling your story about your journey, you connect with other people about life. Because all of us on some level or another, go through similar things, good, bad, or indifferent, right? So, what makes your experiences any less than anyone else's, right? They're different, but that's part of the fun. They should be different, right? She's getting really shy, guys. Am I pushing on this? Am I pushing this on you a little too hard?
No, not at all.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I do. I just, I've been privileged as writers and poets here in Calgary. Extremely talented, and that I wouldn't even say that I have a seat at the
there's seats. Have a seat. I mean, it's all good. I mean, like we all look. I'm just bringing this up. Like I just want to bring this up because see, I've learned something very important about life, like about my own successes and failures. I've never feared. I don't fear. I still feel failure a little bit. I'd be lying if I said it was 100% accurate that I don't fear failure. I'd be lying. But I fear success more than I fear failure because I understand what failure is. I don't always understand what success is. Success is a great unknown. Right? And maybe it'll go the other way. Maybe it'll go the other day someday that I'll be so successful at everything I do that I don't think life has never worked this way up until this point. So I'm not going to hold my breath on this one. But you know, I find that for me, success comes with the quantity of the number of bats I take a swing at. The more I swing, I strike out sometimes, but I also hit some singles, doubles, triples, right? And then occasionally I hit the home run. Sometimes I even hit a grand slam, right? And I look at what I did and honestly what I do, and I become very conscious of this. What do I do that makes me successful? And what don't I, and what can get in my own way? And I try to pull myself to the highest expectation that I can succeed. Even if I get my ass kicked, I still believe I can succeed. Because it's that belief will propel you to places you otherwise wouldn't see. You know? And I'm coming back to you here on this because I'm like, and like I said, I'm sorry, I'm gonna make you admit you're a writer, right? Right? So you have talent, like legit. You are as talented as anybody else in the room. You really are. I know you're used to your voice, but it's your voice. And again, there'll never be anything like it in the same room. 100 different people, right? You know what you should do? You should ask them the people you admire what they look at for in you. And you might be surprised at the answer.
Yeah, you know what? Even with that, because I'm
Yeah.
But even with their answers, I still find that I'm like, yeah, like, you know me personally.
But see, they're more likely to think you're part of the furniture, though. This is what this. I mean, this sounds coy. But the thing, like, if you just, I don't know what your goals are. And we'll get to your goals in a minute here. But if you decide to make a living doing this, biggest thing I've learned in life is don't market straight to your friends. I mean, go and some of them will help you. There's no doubt about that. But the fact of the matter is, your friends are used to you, and not in a bad way. I mean, they love you and they care about you, but a stranger's going to notice just how much you shine that much more because they don't see it every day, right?
Well, these were poets your friends, so I just blindly started going to open mics. Started going to Wakefield People's Poetry Fest, and then from there was just kind of like a circle, and so I would go to them. But that's been about almost 3 years now. So some of those I've come to know from them being a poet or a writer. From the amateur that way.
Okay.
That's what I mean. So then I still find, even though that you're saying, I still find what I hear is still in my head. I hear that.
Okay.
Gracious.
You gotta give your imposter syndrome a name. Like just give it a name. Like no, I'm serious. You give your imposter syndrome a name, right? So whenever you hear that voice, you can tell it just to shut up, Right? Shut up, Impy. Like, just going back in my head. Don't come out. I don't need to hear from you right now. Right? You're a liar. You're a liar. Right? That's what you need to just give your imposter syndrome a name, and then you'll be like, and then humanize it a little bit, then tell it to go shh. Right? Just do the shh. And you'll be totally like, you know, it says like, but, shh. No, I don't want to hear it. It's okay, but shh. Right, and just keep doing that. And eventually, what will eventually happen is, it's always going to be a little humble. Like, I'm certainly the last person to talk about being like, you know, being humble. I am certainly far from that. I'm a self-based megalomaniac, and I'm good with that. You have to have a certain amount of audacity to just go out there and say, hey, my words are worth money. It honestly does take a legitimate bit of audacity to do that, right? But at the same time, and you need that ego to some extent there, because you're going to be, if you decided to do this for a living, you got to fight for your worth, right? And that's anything in life. I think everybody's got to have that ability to go, you know, I'll do this for like 1,000. It's like, see ya, bye-bye. I don't need to do it that badly. And it's a personal, I mean, we all have to have that fight in us on some level. And so that's where the ego's good. Where the ego gets really, really bad is like, you know, I'm the greatest thing ever. I'm like totally like, I mean, we all get caught up in that sometimes in our own BS to a point. Fortunately, I have a sister and I have lots of other people in my life that keep me nice and humble. They get me in ways just like, but you know, that's life, right? You have these things. You have people in your life, hopefully, that give you some form of balance in life. And for me, that's my sister, and that's my dad, and that's my family. But yeah, it's like, you know, it's okay to have a ego. It's okay to say you're good, right? It's okay. Just get. I don't know if that laugh is like a nervous. I like. It's like, shut up.
No, it's like I hear you.
I hear you. But like I said, give the.
I guess it's more assuring when somebody else says.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Or it's more reaffirming, I guess.
Well, yeah, because even the most confident of us have doubts. Do I really know what the hell I'm doing? Right? I mean, we all ask that question. Sometimes we're just going out in the dark. It's like, hey, am I good at this or what? Right? And sometimes you don't know. Yeah, sometimes you're like, is this good? Because I'm not sure. And that's fine. I mean, we all have that. That's perfectly, and that's why when someone says, yeah, this is good, it's like, oh, thank God. Because I was starting to wonder, right? But you have to have that confidence in yourself. Like, don't apologize for being yourself. Because that's honestly, really, don't apologize for that. Never apologize for your abilities. Never apologize for what you bring to the table. It's good to have some doubt. A little, again, ego's good, a little doubt's good, but never, like, I'm sorry this feels like such a pep talk interview. I'm sorry. I'm sorry this is like a very preachy. I won't pass any collection plates around, I promise. But yeah, it's just like that's basically yeah, for you, it's just like you're good at what you do. You present with powerful emotion. You have conviction in your words, and your voice is yours. I don't know. I don't know. Like I mean, how good or great you are might be up for debate, but I think you're okay by me, and that's just my opinion. And I know I'm just a schmuck from a distance right now. But that all said, right? You got like. Never be afraid to carry yourself like you have worth in everything you do. Because when you do that, you might get some people that resent you, but whether they admit it or not, they will respect you. And that's very important. And then you'll also respect yourself more. It's kind of weird how that works. Yeah, I'm sorry.
I got a very needy
That's okay.
It's like as soon as they go on, then he's just like starts crying.
That's okay.
Right up.
That's okay. So, I mean, hey, it looks like you have an important family member there, and what's the dog's name?
Bear.
Bear?
Oh, now he's coming. Yeah. Bear.
Ah, nice. Hi, Mr. Bear. It's all good.
He needs a lot of attention.
Well, it's okay. What kind of dog?
He's a big bag of tricks.
He's a big bag of tricks?
I said he's a mixed bag of tricks.
Yeah.
I don't even know.
How big is he?
I think he has. He's not big. Bear. Come over here.
Okay. Get a little shot. Aw. Playful. How old?
He'll be 3 in December.
Ah, very playful. That's the thing. He's very playful. I'm assuming he's a he.
When it comes to affection, he's needy.
Yes. Well, that's okay. I get the feeling you spoil him a little rotten. I wouldn't shock me if you did.
He's actually my daughter and girlfriend's dog.
Okay.
But he just needs attention. He'll take it from anywhere. Anyone will give it to him, and if they don't.
Oh, okay. Well, there you go, ladies and gentlemen. Bear has joined the podcast. There you go. Special appearance just for Bear. So then let's get to another big question now. Are you ready?
Yeah.
What do you want to do with your writing? What do you actually want to do with it?
What do I want to do with my writing? I don't have sort of like a solid direction. It's more of a bucket list.
What's your
list sort of, I guess, style of approaching it. I would like to get probably just a chapbook or collection together.
Okay.
We noticed retrospectively that last year I wrote a lot about family and family relationships, and this year everybody kept asking me, "Are you writing during COVID? Are you?" And I kept saying no. And then when I was at People's Poetry Fest 2 weeks ago on Saturday, and a lot of the pieces that I had put together to read, jotted things down. We usually do. But when I went back to them, I was like, I guess I did sort of write through COVID, and they all seem to be very intro perspective, which is usually how I write, but this was kind of even more so, I guess, more so on a personal level than it usually is. My intro perspective prior to this particular time had always a little more distal, like just kind of looking at the world and relationships and things, like just as an observer and what I'm picking up as an observer. But this little line, I guess, about me. But I didn't notice it until I was putting pieces together for my read. There is actually like something that kind of ties everything together with a lot of the things that I've written in the last little while.
So has this time forced you to be more honest with yourself?
I'm always very honest. I've always felt that I know myself very well, and then if there's things that I have questions about for myself, I usually have my own kind of come to Jesus, like where I ask myself, like, no, really.
No.
No, really. And it's all in my own head, so it's not like I can get them.
No, it's cool. Like, the reason I bring this up is this. Okay, my own personal apocalypse 12 years ago prepared me for this time incredibly well. Nothing in this time has made me flinch. And it makes me sound incredibly weird, but it's not because I don't think the virus isn't serious, doesn't think of anything like that. Like, I've been in situations where I don't know what's going to happen next, and I just go through it day by day. I've been there.
Yeah.
So for me, it's like, okay, this is annoying, but I've accepted this the way it's going to be. Let's go live my life. Let's try to make some money while I do it. That's literally been my mentality the whole time. But like for a lot of people though, this is almost like, I would be a fool to think you've never been through adversity. But I think this is the first, like not many people go through those extremely trying times. And this, I think, one of the few times, the first time in the year, like this is the first time like the whole world's gone through this trial. And usually when you go through trials like this, you have to come face to face with yourself in some form or fashion, somewhere along the journey, right? And maybe it just hasn't happened to me yet. It's possible. I don't think so, but it is entirely possible, right? But I mean, with you, how, like, did it hit you? How did it hit you?
Well, I guess for me, it was, how did it hit me? Yeah, gradually. I feel like it unfolded and evolved at a very gradual pace, according to what was happening. So that there was a few things that really impacted me, and that was with Black Lives Matter. That really impacted me because I guess understanding or kind of putting it in a place where, everybody kind of coming to me and asking me questions and things like that, it was just sort of, I guess somehow I had already accepted a lot of my experiences just as, well, that was just my life. But the fact that it was suddenly new to everybody, and for some people there was a disbelief with a lot that was going on, like, oh, that doesn't happen. There's disbelief, there was disregard, there was, and then I so a lot of times I would just say, so do you think that I'm making it up, or, and I joked, I guess, that it's kind of like suddenly every month is February.
Yes.
Or because February is Black History Month, so it was suddenly every month is February. I usually get an influx of questions every February. But this particular time had stretched things out into every month, and it was just, at times it was overwhelming. At times it was overwhelming for my daughter. My daughter is biracial, so there was like a lot of absorption of even her perspective, which isn't even mine, just from having that slight difference of being biracial. It was the process during COVID. I found that it was very, I don't know how to describe it. It just felt like it was going at a very even keel of evolution. And yeah, I don't know, it was almost it wasn't slow motion. It was somewhere, I guess, in between slow motion and time lapse. Like the next day would be the same. But you didn't always have the time to, I guess, pinpoint one specific thing that you were feeling. It was just, you were always. And in that piece that I sent to you, that was when it came to a head one day. And I just kind of recorded it in the midst of it to send to a friend that requested to hear it in my own voice, but I still wasn't in a space where I could just read it without emotion. And so I left it as it was.
I think a lot of Canadians are surprised at how racist the country, the undertones of it are. It's not. I've had the fortune to travel across the country. I've lived in Ontario, but I've also lived in BC and Alberta. I've seen pretty much every province except for Quebec East. So I've got some of my best friends have gone through some very, very difficult discrimination. One of my best friends is Matey. He growing up, he went through some interesting stuff. I've had other friends that have gone through, like, it's not like the United States in the sense where you're going to have open violence, but there's a lot of polite. It's polite, which in some ways is colder because it's a lot more impersonal, and it's interesting to see it. I'm speaking from what I've seen on the outside, and I could not imagine it was like on the inside. But I do know, like,
well, actually, exactly that what you said is actually something that was last year. The girls and I had gone when I was visiting Winnipeg. That we'd gone to the Museum of Human Rights, and exactly what you said there was something that was quoted by Viola Desmond, that the difference between racism in Canada versus the United States is that the United States is blatant. You know where you're not supposed to go.
yes.
But in Canada, it's more polite. So you don't know until you're there.
You don't know until you know. That's basically how it works in Canada. You don't know until you know, and then once you know, it sucks. Most racist thing I ever saw was in Phoenix. The second most racist thing I ever saw was in Calgary. So it was like, and just think about this. I live literally 20 minutes from Detroit. Right. I've seen stuff here too, and it does. And Calgary's number 2. Right. So it's here, and it's not going to go away overnight. Yep. Come back. There we go.
There we go.
Yeah, okay, so I was about to say before I disappeared there, before I disappeared there, I wanted to say something, my nice thing to you. Can I say my nice thing to you?
You sure can.
Okay. So last night, ladies and gentlemen, she sent me a poem. And it was a very sad poem. Right? Because I will never say I understand what somebody else goes through when it comes to that kind of discrimination. But I've been very fortunate. And I'll tell you where I've been very fortunate. I've had the opportunity to meet so many amazing people throughout my life. And what I've come to understand is that the world is supposed to be a different place. You and I aren't supposed to be the same. We're supposed to be different. Your world is different than my world. But in so doing, you're as much part of the world as I am. Your voice matters. You're singular. You're different. You're beautiful. And because there's only, again, I've already said this, there's only one of you. But just because you're different colored skin, that's okay. But that's part of life. Nature, by its very nature, is diverse. Every blade of grass is different. Every sunrise is different. Every sunset is different. Every person is different. And you should be celebrated for those things, not picked on. And I'm sorry, and you're an amazing person. And never forget that. There you go. That's my nice thing. I was going to say it at the very end. You should see her, folks. She's actually glowing a little bit on that one. Right? A little bit. No, it's quieter here, but it's there, and yeah, it's an interesting thing. So let's go with the happy. Has there been anything super happy about this time? Like,
Oh yeah, my daughter and her girlfriend, they moved in with me last September.
okay,
So ordinarily, I would have been alone, but
it worked out.
my daughter and girlfriend were here. Like I was like whatever lockdown we had, like it was like I had company, good company.
Okay.
So that was fantastic because I visit them often when I go to Winnipeg, but to actually have them here in my face and there, it was great timing. Haley had actually come to go to school, to go to state, but yeah, as things happened with everything shutting down, I mean, there was a lot of things she didn't get to do, but I think I was probably secretly in the corner, just, rubbing my, like, evil hand, like, wall.
Yes.
I mean, oh, that's too bad.
You're an awesome / terrible mom at the same time. That's good. That's awesome. It's awesome. No, I traveled across the country. I made a decision. And this might be right or wrong. I'll be the first to admit this. A lot of people might think I'm crazy. Next spring, I'm going to start traveling again. Regardless of how things are working next spring, no matter where we're at, no matter how we're going, I'm just going to start traveling again. Because I think by and large we're going to be through this by next year. I mean, the after effects will be felt for a few years to come, but I think the initial crisis of this will be done next year one way or the other. And either way, so this is what I got out of this time. This is just me. So there's a quote from the Shawshank Redemption that I really love, and it's the one I think I'm thinking about more and more as time goes on. You're only doing two things in this life. You're either busy living or you're busy dying. So I'm going to go back to doing the things that make me come alive and full, and I'm going to find everything I'm going to go for. I'm going for things now, but I'm going to go for even more next year. And whether that means me traveling across wherever, going on adventures, awesome. If it means that, my business has taken off and I'm a zillionaire and I can do whatever the hell I want, well, then I'll get to do even crazier stuff, right? But either way, next year, no matter what, being cautious for a year is good, but at some point you have to move forward. That's just the way it is.
Yeah, I think that for me personally, I've made more real time plans. So I'm finding that, like, I've looked at my life and kind of reevaluated, and I'm sure everybody has, sort of, what do I actually really day to day, month to month, that sort of thing, just to live and be happy, like just the basics.
It's probably not very nice.
Decided there's a lot of things that I've decided, well, I'm not going to wait until retirement, because closest that seems that it's coming, it's still no guarantee that really that you can even make it to retirement these days. So, like, I want to lay out my life and live my life as though I'm retired right now, although I'm working. But it's just kind of the whole, like, just not sweating the small stuff. I do, like, not just living within your means, but appreciating what that actually means, because I think this time has actually given us a different perspective related, keeping up with the Joneses or working, for the next tax bracket or whatever that may be, because you get to the next tax bracket and then what? So you're working to the next tax bracket, and then you get there, and it's just a perpetual cycle. And it's just kind of like, okay, well, what's happening between the days that you're leaving work and going to work? Well, a lot of times you're still working, and I'm kind of taking that element out. Like, I just want to go to work as hard as I do when I'm at work. I still work very hard, but when I'm done, I'm home to enjoy life, whatever that looks like. I'm not stressing about work until I'm there the next day. So I'm actually putting it to bed when I leave the office and enjoying my life. Everybody talks about work-life balance, but what does that really look like? Like, I've realized that there's a lot of phrases out there that we don't actually really dissect to see what they actually mean. And I've also noticed that there's a lot of cliches that people just throw out there. But again, they don't look at what they actually mean or what they're actually really saying. And it's kind of taking the time and not just throwing things out, or not just blindly working, or not just blindly doing anything that you've just been accustomed to doing, but doing things every day
because you want to.
Your own intention, whatever that may be.
Absolutely.
Going for ice cream because now you can't, and now you can, and in May you couldn't.
So about 12 years ago, I had my own personal apocalypse. There's a lot of similar. Okay, so the biggest difference between this time and last time my apocalypse was I had no control. This time I deliberately screwed up my life. It's fantastic and glorious, right? I made a decision this time to cut my life out away to try to get something new, right? And regardless of what will happen going forward, right? There's going to be something different. But the last time, I lost everything. I lost my ass. Like, it was unbelievable how bad I got my ass kicked. When it was over, when I got to the point where I could accept it and cut my losses and walk away, it was when I realized that what really mattered to me in life really was three things: my dreams, my family, and I'm in one piece. I mean, I'm still relatively alive, right? Nothing's broken. My top teeth paid the price of my time in Arizona, but that's okay. That was a good lesson in like getting my ass kicked. It was good. All right, I needed that ass kicking. But when I came back to Calgary, when you saw me, that was my second time through Calgary. I got a job, but I left the job at home. Like the moment I left, I did not care about that job. I barely cared about the job when I was there because it was just like, it didn't matter. It was a means to an end, and it's all it was to me. It didn't mean anything else to me. The reason it was a good job for that, it was a great job. I had the perfect job for that, and I had the right people in that place for that too. It worked out very well for me. But I realized too, it's like there comes a point where you want more. Now for me, I want to see how big I can scale up. Not just for the money. It's more for like, I want to just do other things, and I want to be free. And so I want to have that life where here's the one thing me and you will do different on. I don't think we as a generation are going to retire. I think by the time we get there, it will not exist. That's my own personal belief. Just based on everything I've seen up until this point, it will not be there when it's over. So I have to so the onus on me then is to create my own future now. So what do I want to do? And I realized something glorious about 3 years ago, which was this. Everyone does exactly what they want to do, always. Circumstances may not always be in your control, but your reactions are entirely yours. So if you're doing exactly what you want, the biggest thing people never really do, they never figure out what's truly important to them. when you figure that out, you find your happiness. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, I 100%. That may probably just jumps off of what I was saying. I 100% believe that. Tomorrow is not guaranteed.
No.
It's not. So you live today. I guess I don't really like that cliche. Live today like it was your last day. No.
I got a better one.
Live today.
I got a better one. You want to hear it?
Every moment.
I got a better one. You want to hear it? Live today as if you're the hero of your own story, and that every moment you got forward is precious because you are that hero in that story. Like I said, there's only one of you in this life, right? That means your time, everything about you is valuable. Everything. So your challenge as a human being is to accept that worth and to treat time and yourself as if it was the hero. You were the hero in the story. Write down everything you want to do. Go do it. Right? Make that difference. Make that difference in your life and inspire others to do the same. Because if you can do that, doesn't matter when it ends. If you can go out saying, I was the hero of my story every day because I tried to live up to my very best expectations. Not because I thought I was always good, that my shit didn't stink. No, rather, I tried to be the best person I could be every single day, and I treated every moment as if it was precious because it was as a gift. Not right. If I can do that, then when it's over, whenever it's over, I can walk away and say I did everything in my power to create my own heaven on earth, and I did everything I wanted to do, and I'm not going to have a single regret, other than maybe you took me away too damn soon. That's right, because I didn't finish. Right? That's it. Not like treat every moment as if it's your last. Treat every moment as if it's precious. That you're the hero in your story and that it's valuable. How does that work for a cliche? Does that work? Does that?
I don't know that that's a cliche per se, but I truly believe it. We've all lost people and know what that's like and had that yearning for one more day. I learned early in life that I don't ever want anyone to not know how I feel about them in that moment. Because if I happen to lose them, I don't want to have to ever question, did they know? So I always make sure that they know.
No, it's good.
Annoying as it may be.
No, I do the same thing. I moved so much. Like I already keep giving you hints. I was in Vancouver. I was in Arizona. I'm near Detroit. I mean, if you really think about where they are on geography of the situation, I've been around. Right? We take for granted that the people who are in our lives that they're always going to be there. They're not. We only are with each other for a certain amount of time. So treat it like it's special because it is. You've got this great opportunity. I don't know. I that's where I'm at in life. I don't know. Maybe I'm crazy. I do not know. But if I am crazy, I kind of like who I am. So that's kind of it. I got one final question for you. You're gonna hate this question though. You're gonna hate it. I promise.
Oh no.
When's your book coming in?
Wow. Okay. Wow. I was going to start small and just do a little chat book.
So when does that come out then?
Maybe with 112. Well, I have to talk to people.
Yeah.
And that I would like to do before the end of this year.
Okay.
And then I kind of want that to be, and that's what I mean when I say I do these little, I don't even do a bucket list, right? Like I decide I want to do something, and then I add it to this list that I don't have in existence. I write it down, like, okay, I'm going to do that. And then I do it, and then I
Yeah, but so Sholley.
And I do the one thing. I don't have 10 things. I don't want to do something. Then I put it on the bucket list, and then sometimes I give it a time frame. Sometimes I don't. And then once I do it, I cross it off. And then I'll think of something else, and then I'll put it on. But it's not an ongoing list. I don't have 10 things that I want to do.
No,
it's like when I think of something, I write it down, and then I cross it off.
You write it down, do it. So can I ask one silly question?
Sure.
Does it work for you?
It does. The funny thing was that I remember actually thinking, and I want to say that it was 2017, and I remember that if I do nothing else, I would like to at least read something out loud. And that was at the beginning of 2017, and then in 2017 at the People's Poetry Fest, that was my first time reading. And then after that, to follow that, I used a number of features. A number of features. So that is crossed off the list. The features thing, that came as a surprise. It was just, I've always written, so it wasn't really a matter of, oh, what will I read? It was just, first it was shocking. It was like, me? Are you sure? You want me to read like Sholley with an O, right? Like not Sholley. And then from doing asked to be, featured at a few series. Then I was asked more to be featured in a few more series, and then I was asked more. So then it's so now that one I didn't predict. So I just had to write it on the list and press it off. But now that I have that, now that's the next one. I want to do a chapbook before the end of the year, and then after that, I want to maybe just put a compilation together. I don't really know how that happens or where to start from that, but I know so many people now.
My very first book a long time ago was a compilation. Poems. Actually, I learned how to sell because of that book. I actually learned how to sell. So I was in Phoenix when I did it. I did the book. Actually, I did the book in Calgary, but it was in Phoenix where I actually learned how to sell it. So they had this event called First Friday. So there's me and my big mouth here. To my left, there's like these, honestly, the most beautiful stained glass windows I've ever seen in my life. They are gorgeous. To my right was a rock concert. Something didn't belong, and it was me.
Wow.
Yeah, First Fridays in Calgary are nothing on Phoenix. Phoenix, it's an amazing experience every month. You go out, you meet so many people on so many different walks of life, doing so many talented things. But so you got this guy with this book going, that's pretty, and that sounds awesome. I better talk, because I'm fucked if that's the only thing I got here. So I used my big mouth, and I learned how to sell. And it was that first book, which I actually don't really mention very much, because I consider my writing career officially began with a book called The Watcher. That was I accidentally wrote it, and I accidentally got it published. That's a fun little story. But that's the start of my career, and I've done 4 books of poetry, The Watcher being one of them, Stormdancer, Wandering On. They're actually stories. I just did Alice Zero, which is my 4th poetry book, and my first novel, The Cloud Diver, came out this year. So one thing has led to another, which has led to another. So I'm just offering, if you want to ask, you got some talented people. Miranda knows what she's doing. Josephine knows what she's doing, right? By the way, kick Miranda, get her book out too, because she needs to do it. I picked up Mark's book today. That's where I was after my massage. Nice.
Mark Herman Lynch, his book's come out. So I usually try to, get some of the local
Yeah,
local writers and poets, because it's such a different thing having a online book launch. But I like to corner them because then, you know, there's not a lineup of people there waiting for an autograph. So whenever I'm about to get one of their books, I'm like, okay, I want it personalized because I know you know me. I don't want your autograph. I want it personalized.
Yeah. I always feel like a tool asking for an autograph now. Like I legitimately feel like a tool. It's weird because I know so many people, so it's like, can I get your autograph? I sound like such a tool because I actually know you, and it's like awkward. But I mean, what else can you say, right? And it's like, okay.
I love it because then I have not so much just an autograph, but they write something like because they know me, which is different than all the people that are standing in line,
absolutely,
right? Like just a signing or whatever because they read the book. It's just like a little phrase that they might repeat from the book.
So basically,
I'm like, I don't want that.
So you got a super secret. You're part of the super secret club. That's what you like. It's like, yes, I got something. That's right.
That is right.
I got you. I totally got you.
My name, they know it.
Mr.
Anecdotal that only us will know. Yeah.
Yeah.
It is. It's great to have that community to draw from.
So,
I've been extremely fortunate to have that. I have only discovered some of the poets who I already knew as musicians after I left Winnipeg. And I was just like, how did we not do this before I left Winnipeg?
Winnipeg's a strange
Scott Nolan is an amazing poet.
Mm-hmm.
He's still in Winnipeg, and he's also a folk artist as well. He's absolutely amazing. And I was able to get his book a couple years ago. I think he just released a new one as well. But when those murders happened in the East Coast, in less than 24 hours, he had written something, and he'd written a song and put it out there, and everybody was playing it. It was absolutely not. But watching how I would like to say that I had a chance to speak with Stacey, I can't pronounce her last name, during the People's Poetry Fest when I went to go see some of the art that was there that I had missed, and I just wanted to see it while I wasn't performing. And I had a chance to sit and talk with her, and just to be able to have a sit people that I admire and they're at my fingertips is amazing. It's just, you can pick their brain. They give you, honestly what they think about you, but it's just the best resource ever. And it's just literally at my fingertips. So I love that. That has actually really helped me a lot in access. Not so much in development because I haven't really asked. I don't even know what I want to ask as far as development goes. But I like the resource as far as I like hearing their story. I like hearing their timeline. I like hearing their processes and how they got to where they were and all the ebbs and flows. I like hearing about them, and I can actually do that. Like, it's just, I love it. It's a fantastic community. And yeah, so that's really only the things that I have on my timeline. It's a chapbook 20 2020, and then next year,
Take over the world?
next year, probably just, next year the world. No, next year, probably just a compilation book, because I have all of those resources. I can actually sit down with somebody and go through what I have and edit or choose or whatever, because I already have a lot of writing, because I've had insomnia for as long as I can remember, so some of those nights are just lucid, and I just write. I used to be able to write until I would fatigue my brain enough to fall asleep, but sometimes it just doesn't happen. Sometimes I just don't fall asleep, and it's never ending. Some of the more lucid nights, but it's I guess my writing's kind of just been my therapy for insomnia, really. And then I just turned around and I had all of these pieces.
It's magic how that works out sometimes. It really is.
Yeah, it's very interesting.
Yeah. I needed to cure my insomnia, and I ended up taking over the world.
I really don't think that I'm actually...
Listen. If you can't have fun... Yeah. So I know an 18-year-old musician. I knew her when she was 16. So I interviewed her earlier this year. She goes, when COVID's over next year, what are you going to do? I said, I'm taking over the world. That was literally her answer. It was phenomenal. And it's like, I love that. It's like, hey, listen, the way I look at it, go big, right? Why not, right? Worst that can happen is you don't do it. And, okay, you set yourself high expectations, right? You'd be amazed. Don't shrink, grow, right? Like I said, be the hero in your own story. So whatever makes Sholley Powell the hero of her own story, whatever that great crusade is, doesn't have to be world domination. It's true, right? But whatever makes you feel great. That's what you should do.
I should have worn my Wonder Woman shirt.
Yeah, you should have. That's okay. Right, you're a mom, so you're probably naturally a WW. It's just the way it is. But yeah. Good luck. I'm rooting for you.
Thank you.
So do you think we have an interview here, Sholley? Do you think we got one?
I don't know. Do we?
I think we do. We have a pretty good conversation. Did you enjoy this?
I did.
Yeah. This is one of my superpowers. So you don't have a book out yet, so I can't really promote the heck out of that yet. A book or chat book or something like that. So how about we do this? How can people find you?
People can find me. I don't really have aliases. That's how I know I'm not a superhero.
That's right, folks. Sholley Powell is one of a kind. It's true. However,
that's the thing, is because my name is so unique. It's easy for me to find.
Yeah. But you have no web.
I'm on Facebook.
You're on Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram, anything like that?
Yeah. I am on Instagram. You would still have to search by my name, because I think on Instagram I'm FPTH3.
We'll work on your social media game when you get that book out. But that's okay. Sholley Powell on Facebook.
You can search Sholley Powell, it'll come up. That's really it. I do have a Twitter, but I'll have to say that I really don't go. I don't tweet. I don't go on Twitter very often.
Fair enough. All right. Well, thank you very much for the interview. 1 second here.
Let me help you tell your story the way you want it told. If you're in the genres of science fiction, fantasy, thriller, historical, or young adult, I have services that can definitely help you. I can produce, narrate, and master said audiobook so it's ready for Amazon and any other software you need. For more information, see my website at jpentellaresco.wordpress.com/audiobook services. You've worked hard to create that story, and I'll work just as hard to make sure it's told in the right way. And that was Sholley Powell. Impressive, right? I was always very impressed with her, and I'm even more impressed now than when I walked through the door. Sholley, if you're listening to this, I made no mistakes choosing you. Come on my show and chat and listen. Your voice matters. You have something to offer. We all have something to offer. The hardest thing in this life, the hardest fight in this life, is to believe that you're worth something. And most of us struggle with that day in and day out. Most of us settle. Look, let's talk about something. Let's talk about an elephant in the room. If I'm an essential worker, I'm pissed off, I'm getting praised. And here's why I'm pissed off. Because if I'm so valuable, why am I not being paid? That's an indictment on all of us, not just the companies that refuse to pay. Most of us accept a lesser value. And the hardest thing I've had to learn as a freelancer is you don't get respect without actually valuing yourself. So Sholley, if you're listening to this, still listening to this, you have something to offer. And I cannot convince you of this. You have to believe it on your own. But if you can believe in yourself and go forth every day just producing what you can, doing the best you can, you will find people who have value in what you do. Believe that. Okay? And that will do it for this episode of Just Joshing. If you want to support the podcast, you can do so a number of different ways. You can support the podcast by subscribing to it. I'm on every application known to man. Just pick one, hit the apply button, go for it. That'd be awesome, number one. Number two, buy my stuff. Alice Zero, the Cloud Diver, currently available on Amazon. I have my YouTube channel, Joshua Penteloresco. I have merchandise. I have a newsletter. Sign up. If you're a narrator, someone looking for a narrator, I will narrate your work. I will produce an audiobook from scratch. I do all these things. Hire me. Or if you need someone to write, hire me. Anyway, here's the deal. Let's see. Twitter, Instagram's J Penteloresco. I also have Just Joshing Podcast for latest episodes. Stay inspired. Stay shining out there, everybody. Because I'm watching you, and so is everyone else. Take care, guys.
Josh.